How you guys doing? Hi, Andrew. Hi, Yuko. Hi, Mark. How you doing? Caesar, how are you? Tell me, guys, is the sound and video okay? Hey, Brian. All good. Okay, everything's working. Okay, one sec. I'll be right with you. Hang on. I got to put this up. Sound and video perfect. Great. I had my camera hooked up. I mean, my phone hooked up to where my camera should have been, and it messed everything up. So one sec. I'll be right back to you. I got to put my uh yeah. Let's see. What is the next thing I got to put in? This. Boom. And a second. Boom. There we go. I finally got everything fixed up. Hello, guys. As this this one started as unplanned, unhinged, irresponsible, and formidable. Okay, what we got here? Hi, Michael. How you doing? Was that a shot of your desk earlier? Need to type. It must have been. I think it was something on my desk. The condition of my desk. I think it has a lot to do with climate change. The weather did it. God, I tell you, my room. I tell you, I think to get everything cleaned up. I think what I should do is toss a grenade, close the door, and run. Then clean it up. I've got this robot. There's one of those little cleanup robots, and it goes around and it has a double martini once it's finished going through my room. Okay, great. Hi, Alberto. How you doing? Buonasera. Frazel, how are you? How are things in Hart Hertfordshire, UK? Great. Rutan, hang on a second. Let me see if we're going to make this stuff just a little bigger. Bip, bip. Oh, there we go. Um, Piping Hop, Rustan, Frizel, good to see you. Okay, yeah. Here's the deal. We got pretty good weather today. I mean, it's not too humid. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's a beautiful day. I've been inside. I've had a. Sometimes you have a string of luck that nothing goes right, and I'm getting over that string. The latest thing to happen to me is my ankle. I like walking about 5K a day, and I think I overdid it one day, and my ankle was sore. I thought, I'll walk it off. So I tried to walk it off. The next thing I couldn't walk at all. And they hauled me down to the doctor, and the doc said, "Oh, you got a sprained ankle. You're going to have to stay off it a couple of weeks." So it was. There's all kinds of stuff that I like to do. And I couldn't do it because of my. I got an ankle. I feel like one of those. All I need is a walker, and I'm ready for the rest home. Anyway, very Roman, Hertfordshire, is it? Okay. Malta. Hi, Mario. How you doing? How are things on Malta? Caesar usually would have some smart aleck remark. See if I can beat him to it. A Malta is something like a milkshake. Sorry, Mario. I would love to visit Malta someday. I really would. That's been on my list of places I'd like to go. And it's also one of the places I haven't been banned from for just for general principles. Okay, so what's up with the watch world? What's going on with watches other than the usual kind of dreck that we have to deal with. I'm trying to think is that I'm still bothered by the silicone hairspring. So rather than letting Caesar get me going on that, I'll just say my piece and shut up about it. Hey, watching NYC. The kinds of things. There was this quartz watch that has all of this great stuff. I mean, it's a chronograph and it's got a perpetual calendar. It's got all of these things, and it's quartz. I don't too care much. I feel the same way about silicone hairspring. You can solve a lot of problems with it, and that's the end of it. Not interested in collecting now. Say, did you guys hang on a second? Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. 1 second, please. I'm learning how to use all the fancy schmancy stuff on. Let me see if I have it here. 1 second. Hang on a sec. Let me see if I got it. No, it's not there. Hang on. I'll see if I can find it. Oh, I know where it is. I'll have to do 1 second again. What I wanted to talk about is this. I put this up recently on, let's see. Okay, this is what I put up on High Horology Lounge. You need to delete a few. Oh, okay, I'll do that, Caesar. Thank you. Yeah, that reminds me. We're still having Grand Prix picks, and got a we don't have it. I'm always surprised how few people really go for it. So that I thought was sort of interesting. Okay, hi Rustan. Do you like Roger Dubuis La Montsegas chronometer? Yes, I do, and don't buy it right now because I'm out of money. I can't buy it myself. Rustan, that's a nice watch. I really like that watch. I don't, Dr. Bob's nightmare. Jeez, I'll tell you. It's also surprising that there aren't many YouTube videos on GPHG entries. Yeah, I think they'll have them later on. I think there's been so many this year. My God, there's just like tons of them. I think it's sort of like a lot of people. I think they're. I don't know. I don't know why. I guess maybe we ought to have some more. Okay, let me show you this. And this is something I put up, and it was sort of interesting. And I want to just so you sort of give you my take on it, if you don't mind. Okay, this is a Hotulence. Forgot the actual number on it, but it's a Hotulence, and I think it's from about I don't know 2012 or something like that. Anyway, these are jumping hours, and here you have a retrograde minute, and down here you've got, I guess I don't know what that is. I think it's It's not a jumping hour. It's not a second hand, so it must be a calendar. Okay. How you doing, Goldfinger? All right. Let's talk about this just for a second. Um, uh, First of all, the stuff by Hotulence is really sort of like here you have the guys in the what I'll call the skunk works. That was a sort of a code name for a lot of secret stuff that was done. They call it the skunk work, and the I haven't checked those yet, Caesar. Anyway, um, I was, I thought, well, this watch, I think it was, they had around 78, 7,900, what they're asking for. I think you do better than that from the seller, but it's a pretty good price. And then I had it, and then I compared it to, I think it was a Seamaster. No, not a Seamaster, Constellation, an Omega Constellation. I said, well, what do you guys like? Well, in the Constellation, I think a new one was like $7,100. I I've seen the I most people said, oh well, they want to go with the Omega, even though the Omega was infected by silicon. And they looked at this one, nah, not quite, a little too out there. It's clearly not as a one glancer until I guess you'd have to get used to it compared to the Omega. But I thought, well, anyway, so I thought, well, I'll find out a little more about it. Well, the more I found out about it, I thought, my God, to me there would be no choice, but that's me. That originally this was $54,000, and wow, they didn't make a lot of them. Hotulence is like that. They don't have a lot of mass things. Most of Hotulence watches are these big TV screen things. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up as like, here is this watch. It's the kind of watch that I'd probably jump at if I weren't broke, which is my current state. So anyway, just wanted to bring it up. Okay, that's all I wanted to say about that. And let's see what else is up. Let's see what's going on. Okay, is there anything among the GP that have potential to grow 10 times in value in the next 5 years, like FP Journe did? Sure, there are, and I'm not telling you which ones they are because I'm going to get them. And then I'm going to make the money. That's sorry about that, Rustam, but it's a good question. What do you think? Are there any that'll jump in 5 years? I have no idea. Some may jump off a cliff, and others may jump like they're on a trampoline. What do you guys think? That's a good question. Come to think of it, let's talk about that. For that, I just want to mention HRM says, just seen a very interesting article on a Bugari tourbillon. It uses a column wheel and pusher to switch between winding and time setting. Very interesting idea, probably very satisfying. Between winding. Okay, that is interesting. Not exactly, but something like that. On my Mertz Grossman, I pull it out to set it and go ahead and set it and everything. But in order to wind it, there's a pusher. I have to push the pusher in. And so what it is able to do somehow with that pusher is to do a stop second without slamming down on the oh God. The thing that goes around. I can't think of the name of it. God, I'm losing it. Anyway, on the As Nancy Pelosi, what watches she's going to buy? Ask Nancy Pelosi. I don't know what she does, to tell you the truth. I think H. Moser watches can grow more expensive, especially rare models like titanium ones. Cannot believe that. Hang on a second. The balance. I couldn't think of the balance wheel. Okay. Yeah, anyway, so instead of clamming down on the balance wheel to stop it, they have something else that they do that stops it. Okay. Man, I tell you, I get a slipping a few here. I think H. Mosers can grow more expensive. I think so too, Rustam. H. Moser, but I don't think they're going to have a leap like FP Journe. They might, but I don't think so. And if I'm wrong, all of those H. Mosers I have, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I think it's more likely to give somewhat less known independents a boost, which often has a knockoff effect on prices, if only because their volumes are limited and they can't meet demand. Yeah, the whole thing on demand is I think there is an effort by companies to try to create demand by a limited number, but you don't end up with a better watch. If a number is limited because they can't produce more by hand or something like that, like Marco Lang's workshop can only produce so many of these incredible watches that he makes, and so it's limited not by some bean counter says, hey, if we don't have as many, we can charge more, and then people want them. I don't think about that. Okay. Caesar. Bourguignon Mirage Sienna is regarded as the next FP Journe. I sort of heard of them, but I don't know much about them. I saw. Okay, here's a place. Here's where to look. You want to find a watch with a good chance of going up. I know where to look. You want to know where? Where would you think would be a place? There would be one of the places to go, and you're going to find some that are fairly reasonable now, but they're going to go whoop. Where would you say? Hey, Caesar, what would you guys look for now? You go, in order to find something that goes from a modest amount to a high amount, where is the place to look? Is this Botched on CNBC? No, this is far more irresponsible, whole milk. They probably CNBC is fairly responsible, and we have the I not such. Do you know if all Omega moon watches? That's a good question about moon watches. They used to have one that didn't, and I mean, just like not too long ago, a few months ago, and now they seem to. Now they've gone all, They've gone all far. It's like a sort of junior quartz watch. Can we please don't talk about H. Moser? Haven't got all I want yet. H. Moser. Now, this is the one that I just showed you. Okay, Hotulence. Guess who owns Hotulence? It's H. Moser. Okay, that is part of the precision engineering is used by Hotchulence and H. Moser to make their movements. And that was one. That was a place that I think most likely they also have the Strawman hairspring. So, I mean, to me, here you have this fabulously interesting horologically watch versus an off the shelf something with a with with a with a silicone hairspring in it. Okay, you guys, back to my question. Do I care about rarity? No, I care about quality. There's a difference. Something can be rare junk or massive junk. Just ask anybody in the art world; they can tell you that. Okay, let's go back to this my secret place to look. Do you guys want to know about it or not? Or do you know about it? Where would be the place that you say, okay, let's go here, and if we look there, we'll find some people making watches, and these watches are the ones that are priced now. In fact, I bet some of them are in the GPHG. And if we get our mitts on one now in a very short period of time, they're going to go up. Where are we going to look for that? Who are you going to call? What do I think of Fuzi and Shane? Okay. Let's see. Fuzi and Shane's. Maybe someday I'll get a nice big fat pocket watch with Fuzi and Shane. It's sort of an interesting thing. The more I found out about it, the more it freaked me out, Finnegan. I'm sorry. You have sort of this pyramid shaped thing and the wrapping around the chain, and it's just like, boy, that's got to be thick to do that. Dominic, hi Dominic, how you doing, man? Japan, Margaret, Micro Brands. Hi Tuna, how you doing? Come on now, you guys. What I mean, look at the logic. What would be logical? Who, first of all, where can you find in one place most of the best watchmakers in the world right now? Where would you look for that? We can always go to this chat and ask you. No, Rusted, don't rely on me for anything. God, I tell you, I get these brain farts, and all of a sudden I can't remember what a balance wheel. That's okay. I know what you meant. Caesar, the Society of Independent Watchmakers, led by Calabrese. Okay. Right step, Caesar. That's exactly right. So we go there, so we find the most famous, the most expensive, and the best watchmakers in the world, right? So now what would be one step beyond that? Or I should say, what would be one step below that, where we could find a whole slew of possibly great watchmakers to have watches that everybody wants, and the price will go loop up like that. Larique, oh, of course, Larique. Larique. Oh God. There's an old Larique is a good example of of, if you want to know, if you like sausages, don't go to see how they're made. Okay. Okay. No, Caesar, you're on the right track. That's just step one. What would step two be? Definitely the Swiss-based Society of Independent Watchmakers. That's right, David. That's where we go. Margaret, GPHC, but where in GPHC? My God, they have everything from micro brands to God knows what in the GPHC. But GPHC is always a good place to look. One of the reasons is that we look at the winners, we look at the characteristics of the winners. But going back to Caesar's point, yes, Ilko, it's AHCI. That's correct. But where do we go in that to look? Hang on a second. One second. Okay. This is a test. All right. How many of you have heard of V&E halter? Okay. I'll just ask, how many of that are Paul Gerber or F.P. Journe? Okay, so you've heard of those guys. All right. Hang on a second. How many of you have you heard of Marco Guarnino? Anybody? How about Joanna Taney? Have you heard of her? Who has it? Okay. Yeah, those were cool, but it's not the same thing. Here's where you want to look. Okay. One second. Let me bring it up here. You don't look at the now. All right, now let me work my magic tools here they gave me. Okay, these are the candidates. Marco Giarino, Maciel Holzman, Guo Ming I've heard of before. Masek Benetsk, sorry man, I have a hard time with that. I need vowels. Anton Shukanov, I've heard of him before. Joanna Tain. Now, all of these people are people who are, they're candidates. They wouldn't be candidates unless they're really good. I took a look at Shona Taney's, and she's got a Instagram page. I didn't find a regular, watches for sale page, but I did find this one thing in Hong Kong that had it in Hong Kong dollars, and I figured it out, and it was not cheap. Okay, somebody had mentioned some of these younger or unknown ones who are part of the AHCI. They're not cheap at all, but they're not crazy expensive. Okay. Like when I got my FP Journes, they were not cheap, believe me, but they weren't like, I mean, they weren't like sell your house to buy one expensive like they are now. So I think that we can be looking at these guys and saying, maybe people who used to be the FP Journes or who used to be Marco Lang's. Now, I tell you, a guy, this guy right here, Stefan Kadoki, his stuff is still relatively affordable, which is nice. Uh, Initially, and again, this was when he was a candidate, his watches were about half of what they cost now. So even though they're still a good deal, they were a better deal beforehand. So it's a kind of thing that, well, maybe this might be a place that we can sort of, let's see what they got. And so if something comes along and some loudmouth says, well, never heard of them before. I love those guys. I love them because what they do is they drive away anyone who may up the price on them. And people like me, when I'm not broke, I can get one. Anyway, how's that for a bad idea? Another way to blow money. Oh, let's see. Okay, Tuna, you got is that sort of does that make sense? Sort of the logic, get them before their prices go through the roof. There are a couple of young guys who have stuff in the GPHD. I think Margaret mentioned it. A couple of young guys. I think they're sort of German Swiss, and they have already won one award. Their stuff is really good. Unfortunately, they're not idiots, and they're extremely expensive. I think as time goes on, you see sort of they go along, and then there's a bump up, and then it can go down again. It depends on how it's played. Why wouldn't you go a tier above Kari, Andreas? Too expensive? No. Here's the thing, Ioko. These guys, yes, you're right. They're already too expensive. I don't know what Kari Boot and Lannon's watches start now, probably around 70,000, something like that. Now Andreas Staeler, his watches also, I think they sort of start off around 50,000 or something like that. Whole lot of money. But what if I told you I found one for 4,000? And I'm not going to tell you where it is. I already have, but I'm not going to tell you again. Yeah, Dominic, that's the whole idea. Now, how they, you never know what's going to happen to them. The one thing we know, or we should depend on to some extent, most watchmakers, independent watchmakers, aren't the best business people in the world. Okay, they're just not. There's the same thing was true with programmers. A lot of them are hot programmers, and I think they're smart at everything, and they're not. So they hire some smart business guy, and then they become overnight billionaires. Okay. Hi ho, Milk. Striller launched the cheap version of his watch last year, the Sina, only 20,000. Yeah, that's a very good one. That's a good example. Oh, bud, you weren't supposed to tell anybody about that. Okay. Hey, Forbid, how are things in San Francisco? God, I used to live up in the Red Rock area of San Francisco. Loved it up. Yeah, just didn't want to live anywhere else except San Francisco, but had to leave. We won't say why. Oh, but you already have it. Okay. You can brag about it. The only downside of the movement is that it's a chronograph, and I'm not into chronographs. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that you don't have to be filthy rich to get one of their movements if you know where their movements are. Um, I have, for example, I have some movement by Jean-Marc Viderec because I found out there are a couple of different places that I was able to find the movements are just the modules in watches that weren't at all expensive, like my Dandy, like my Chaumet Dandy. I love that watch. And one of the reasons I like it so much is that it not only do I like the fact of the movement, I like what it does. With here, you have gears with springs between the teeth so that there's no slippage. And so you end up with this Paris Ferris wheel that's just going around really slowly like that. The ones without the Ferris wheel, instead of a Ferris wheel, it's a second hand, but it's so smooth. The reason it's smooth is that when you have an eccentric second or any eccentric movement from the main set of wheels and things, you're going to get that little bounce sometimes. You've probably seen it in second hands that go something like that while they're going around. That's because of the distance from the wheel train. Now, the uh, what Jean-Marc Viderec did in order to correct that, he developed these gears with these little springs between the teeth, and so there was no slippage. I mean, like, I don't know how he got the springs in there, but he did. And the biggest ones I found were in the Chaumet. We also have them in the first two of the Larique watches. We have the second hand is moved by the one. Finally, my first real time live. Whoopee! La, try, Laura Rob? Laura Rob. Great to have you here. Great. How are things in Switzerland today? In Connecticut, they're perfect weather. The Streller Law chronograph should look like the famous 175 caliber. You're right. Of course, that's what it is. Well, at least that's what Maurice Lacroix wanted. And it does. My God, you look at that thing, it's this gorgeous movement. You must sit in a corner, oh, bud, when you get in trouble with your wife and just look at that movement. I don't care. You can put me in the corner and I'll look at it. It's a beautiful movement. Oh, sunny in Luzon. I'm going to be going next. Boy, I got a couple trips. In November, I'm going to Switzerland, and then again in March. So looking forward to it. Look, I hope. Hey, I don't know. I'm not much of a sports fan. I do have my sports injury on my ankle, but I tell you, I gotta say that this last Olympics, they were so good and unbelievable. Paris put on, I think, the best Olympics I've ever seen. They were excellent, and I was really glad. I was glad to see um, the athletes act more mature than the politicians from the country that they came from. I think all of the athletes were really a wonderful representation for all the different countries. Whoa! Oh, you got one of those. You got one of the, what are they called? The Cenas. Those are nice ones. Um, Again, if you want to buy a watch because you want to see it go up in price, I don't know. The reason I don't buy my watches that way, and I got to tell you, every one of them jumped up in price, and I don't think it was because what do I know about finance? Um, you know, there was, if, of course I say, buy low and sell high. I just buy and keep. so, so, and I just get ones I really like. Fortunately, uh, not everybody likes the same ones I do at the same time. But sometimes they come along later and they say, oh boy, I want to have one of those. But by then, the price has gone up. Okay, so what else is going on? We can talk about whatever we want. And I've been doing enough of the talking. I even had pictures for everyone today. I learned how to use it, even though I forgot my balance, lost my balance wheel. Okay, so let me ask you guys, what would you predict to be really good? Hey, Foreman, how you doing? Does rim and toile tend to correct for slippage? Good question. Boy, I don't know. I don't know. It might, because at least if there was any slippage, you'd be consistent. But that's a good question for them. I have no idea. Bert of the Olympics was the Australian breakdancer woman. Ah, if she's the one who I think she is, there was either a breakdancer or a skateboarder, and I think it was Australian, who wanted all she wanted. She said, "Wow, you wanted." They were interviewing her. I said, "You won a gold medal. What would you like?" So I've always wanted a rabbit, not a car, but a rabbit. I thought, how cool! He going home to mom and dad. Do I get my rabbit now? See, I got a gold medal. It just cracked me up. And the Turkish shooter that got silver, I don't know which one that was, Caesar. I didn't. There were so many events. I would have liked to have seen a shooting event. Hi, Allie. How you doing, man? Dr. Bob's nightmare is 0. No kangaroos. Oh boy. Oh, Dr. Bob's here. He's saying hi to everyone. Okay, so what would be a good thing that we need to pay attention to right now as watch collectors? By the way, I have on my Beauvais. Hey. What would be a good topic? What is something that the secret forces of watchmaking have not let us talk about, but we can now? Any topic you can think of. You guys, come on. I've already showed you the secret room where you can find the future greats, and you can make a bundle by their watches before they go sky high. That's another thing too. Are all of the FP Journes, are they in a bubble right now? I mean, like, are FP Journes and Kari Vuitton-Lanons and Kronfeld and Rolex and Patek Philippe, are they in a bubble right now? What do you think? Lara Rob, I see more people moving away from hyped watches into small brands. Not sure if this is just my perception. I don't know either. It's an interesting observation, though. To me, it's like, if there's something, a quote that I saw: if you follow the herd, all you see is the view never changes from the back of the herd. And that may affect some. Some may just, like, I don't know. That the whole issue about after finishing this book that um, Dominic had sent me about how the Swiss had reacted to the Waltham watches and the techniques that they were using here in the U.S. This is back in the 1880s, and how they reacted, and yet at the same time brought in Swiss culture. And now what I'm not seeing, but am seeing, is the smartwatch. The Apple Watch is just a phenomenon. They are not selling millions; they're selling billions of those things, and like it's sort of in a way it it does something that I see in a strange way is good for mechanical watch collectors. Is that there's no reason, there hasn't been a reason really to have a mechanical watch since quartz watches, because quartz watches are just crazy accurate comparative and easy to create and sell and everything else. On the other hand, mechanical watches are this wonderful, almost like Rube Goldberg kind of thing uh, from the barrel to the wheel train through the escapement and the pallet fork, and then kicking the the balance wheel one way or the other, and then the balance springs swinging 240 degrees or something like that. I mean, to me, that's all of the magic. To stick silicon in there, what's the point? You've got, if you have a smartwatch, you don't need any other kind of watch. You want to, we're going to make this one more accurate. Okay, go ahead. But what's the point? You're not going to get near a quartz watch, let alone one of the smart watches. So if we're going to have mechanical watches, let's have mechanical watches. These guys going, how is a low rate better than the Dr. Bob's nightmare? I had a hard time answering that question. But what I kept seeing is that all of the great watchmakers were using the lower beat. And when I went through the GPHC, I looked at the winners. They all had the lower beat. Not all of them. There were a couple with 4 hertzes. In fact, one, I think, with 5 hertz. But for the great majority, they were these lower hertz. And so, well, what is it? And there's a lot of different things in there that say, well, they're not beating up the wheel train and everything else as much because they're sort of slower, and so there's greater time between services, and there's you have a longer once you wind it up, you have a higher reserve for the same size barrel, a lot of things like that. But I still think there's something else in there that approaches magic, that if you get it slow enough, you can see that magic. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Somebody wants a 4-banger, 4 hertz, let them have it. Happy as a clam at high tide. All of my Parmigianis are all 4 hertz for some reason. Except for my Hebdo Madari. The other ones are. Tons of FP Journe on sale on 1914 Watchbox. Okay, good deal. Jaime Ahsoka, that's another great one. Suggested the metals for Paris Olympics have electrolyte corrosion due to iron from Eiffel Tower not processed properly, and can also occur on a watch. Caesar, behave yourself. This is really important. Okay. Do you think smartwatches are good for us, watch collectors? To me, they're not interesting. I worked on this kind of stuff. I used to program mobile devices and stuff. And what you have is that you can take the way they do the programming for Apple. They have a language that's called Swift, but rather than being able to program sort of like what I consider free range programming, which is you program right down to the metal. Instead, they have these modules, and you get the module, and then you put this in, and you put this and this. I mean, it's like paint by the numbers. It's hate that kind of programming. But you know, if you want to, I keep getting these things from Apple developer. They want me to develop stuff. I'm developing enough. I'm having fun with watches. Jaime Ahsoka suggested metal. Okay, all right. Let's see. Jaime Ahsoka is another guy whose stuff has gone up. Boy, I love the tsunami that he has. Yes, Forbin, what a beautiful way of putting it. That's a great, great movement equal the amazing beauty of springs unwinding. And that's it. There's no pollution. There's no nothing. Just the power of a spring unwinding. Do you think smartwatches are good? My wife has one. All of the watches that I was sort of starting a nice watch collection for my wife, including having to trade in my overseas in order to get an anniversary present watch for. And now all she wants to do is has her phone. I mean, it's like a Dick Tracy phone. She talks in it and does this and does that and everything with that watch. That and her iPhone, and then she's in her computer, and just like you know. I read somewhere that FP Journes are very hard to sell. I'll tell you, man, my FP Journe, I love my FP Journe. It's one of my very, very favorite watches. I love that watch. And this is a CS. The other one, my Residence, is it has magic in it, witchcraft. I think the way that thing works. So. I'm not, if they're hard to sell, the price ought to go down. And so that might, look at what the market is going. If FP Journe prices start going down, that means something's going on. Let's take a quick look. Okay, you guys want to do that? Let's just take a real quick look at FP Journe. We'll go to, I don't know, whatever they have for that. Whoops. Hang on one second. There we go. All right. Here we are. We'll go to Chrono 24 and see what FP Journes are going for. Okay, there are 342 watches available at FP Journe right now. Hi. Okie doke. So let's take a look and see what the prices are. This is crazy. I mean, we should be able to figure all of this stuff out. Hang on a second. Window. There we go. Okay. All right. Here we have all of these watches. Hang on a second. Here we go. All right. Now, this is $48.99. Oh boy. Well, it's a quartz watch, and it's one of those. It's like a watch you put on your desk and use it for like a little desk clock. It's not a real watch. And even that, they've got all of these quartz. Okay. Then we get the Elegante. Okay. Which is a real watch, even though it's a quartz watch, and they start at $33,000. By the way, these are ordered from the lowest price to the highest price. Okay, these are $33,000 and so forth. Okay, so we get to the lowest price gold chronometry ring. Now, these sold for about, I think, around 25,000 before the pandemic. I mean, this is the list price at one time. Okay, so now they're starting at 46,000. If somebody bought one of those, with the idea that they're going to make money. They're making money. Okay, if you can double your money, you're doing okay. All right. So let's go on. So there are a couple you can get there. Here's an Elegante all the way up at 47,000. Here's another Elegante at 49,000. Now we haven't even gotten to the second mechanical watch. Now that thing's okay. Now here's another CS. That's what the cool guys call a chronometric survey, in case you're wondering. And I know you guys want to be cool. All right, another Elegante for 50,000. A quartz watch, 50,000 bucks, for crying out loud. Okay, now we get to the FP Journe Octa. An Octa. This is titanium. If you like really light watches, which I don't, I like watches with heft in them. But here's one that is actually available. These were originally this whole, what do they call this? Sports models. These were originally started when there was a runner who loved FP Journe watches, but the chronometric surveys were too heavy for him. I think he had a blue, as a matter of fact. All right, so there's 50,000 for one of those. And we're back to Elegantes. Look at the prices on those. And these, okay, here's another Octa, sports Octa. They're very light and they feel flimsy on aluminum. They don't feel right, but that's okay. Here's another Elegante. Okay, now here we get to the FP Journe Octa Reserve de Marche. It's a wall clock, everybody. A wall clock. I've got one of those for chronometric surveying. This one is this guy right here is a wall clock, 53,000. It's quartz. It's a quartz wall clock, and they want 53,000 for it. Okay, these are the prices going down. All right, here you got quartz, all over 50,000. Here's another sort of a sports line sports is what they call them, a line sport line of watches. Okay, now here's a plain vanilla chronometric surveying, 55,000. Another one, same price. Another Elegante, for crying out loud. Okay, here's another CS, 56,000. Okay, now finally we get to a platinum. This is a watch I have, and mine was from 2007. 2007, they put in the gold movements in 2005. Mine's from 2007. This one's from 2020, 57,000 bucks. Okay, so I look at that, and I asked myself, what would I rather have, $57,000 or my watch? And my answer is, I'd rather have my watch because I like my watch. I never bought it for an investment, and I guess at some point when I'm even more senile than I am now, I might sell it. But what's the point? I have the same watch that I had. The value stayed the same. The price went up, but it doesn't change in value. It has the same value to me. Here are more of those quartz watches. My God. Okay, there's some more. So at least from I don't see the prices hitting the skids, and we haven't even gotten to the expensive one. My God, the blues which were the entry level, they've gone through the ceiling. Okay, so much for FP Journe's. There's sort of lightening up on. I don't see it, but maybe I'm missing something. Okay, let's see. Andrew, thank you. Okay. How you doing, Oscar? Hard to sell, not cheap. Oh, okay. They're hard to sell. Well, I'll tell you, they wouldn't be as hard to sell if they lowered the prices. I'll tell you that real quickly. But somehow they haven't, and I don't know what's going on. I have to check. It's like if you're worried about that, if all you worry about is the price of your watch going up or down, get a watch that you really like and don't worry about it. You have a watch you like. So what if they go up or down? That you're a watch collector. You don't have any sense anyway. Okay. All right. You buy to the brand the way to go your way up. Yeah, I don't know. I think I think the more time you spend finding out about watches, who was it that just had who said they had was it Forbion? Who we were just talking. He said, well, he has Andreas Steller in a watch by Maurice Lacroix. So, who's smarter? A guy spends $100,000 for Andreas Steller or $4,000 because he found a watch with that kind of with a Andreas Steller movement in it. To me, if you're what you're really interested in is a horology, I agree with you, Tim. I have to say, well, I do have one quartz watch, and that's my wall watch. I wish I could show it to you, but I can't. Um, Maybe I could figure out a way to do it. But the the point is that even the quartz watches are have crazy high prices. What's my favorite FP Journe? I'll tell you right away. My Chronomet Survein. Love my Chronomet Survein. I didn't know whether to get platinum or gold at the time, and I thought, well, or a blue. I wasn't crazy about the blues because it didn't have a power reserve indicator, and so it came down to either getting a platinum CS or a rose gold one. So I thought, I like the platinum one better. And besides, I didn't have any other platinum watches, and so it's like, yeah, but this was like, God, I think it was back in 2016 or sometime like that. And I haven't any, it's one of my favorite watches to wear. Having a favorite watch to wear can be for any number of reasons. And mine isn't because of the price, because I have some pricier watches that I have in terms of what I got them for. Okay, what do you guys have? My biggest regret in watch collection is not buying. Yeah, a lot of people. There are all kinds of things we regret. You buy to the brand that way and go your way up. It'd be interesting to see if the inventories keep growing. Man, I tell you, on the sellers, they may. What doesn't seem to get any smaller are the waiting lists for new ones. You go into a FP Journe boutique and say, "Hey, what's the quickest I can get one?" And they'll tell you there's like a 2 or 3 year waiting list for the least popular ones. I don't know. I have a Timex Solar. You're in good shape, Tim. You keep that solar and keep out in the sun with got a little friendly glass of cheer and your solar watch. I'm the same way about my dandy. Hey, by the way, my Chaumet dandy is sort of an interesting thing happened with it. Chaumet made the metals. Now, as I understand, they may have an oxidation problem because they were made from old parts of the Eiffel Tower. I got a feeling Chaumet knows a thing or two about keeping things from being oxidized, and then they covered it with gold or bronze or silver. But the people who made my dandy also made the Paris Olympic medals. How about that? Take that, Rolex. And I sometimes feel people think of watch collection as a competition rather than something to simply enjoy. You're right. That's exactly. In fact, this is what I've always hoped that these kinds of chats can be. We just want to talk about watches, not like my watch is better than your watch, but rather the different ways to enjoy them. That's what I think is more important. Okay, Ed, what's up? I suspect some FP Journes were bought by non-enthusiasts who are now nervous about price drops, flooding the market, making it even harder to sell. Yeah, it'd serve them right, too, I think, Ed. We're all unhinged. There you go, Truman. Riza, how you doing? What do you think of Octa Divine models? I like the Octas. The Octa Divine is really nice. Oh, boy. Okay, something cares. Anyone like Zelos watches? Uh, I don't know that much about them. I sort of, who was it? Who was the great humorist from this from a long time ago? Anyway, he said, I never met a man I didn't like. And I'm the same way about watches. I don't think I ever met one I really hated. I just, I just like them. Somebody put together that, and they had some little bubble in their head thinking, I wonder what this would be like. By the way, somebody earlier on in our discussion asked about what did I think about Chinese tourbillons. I have one. It was like $100 and something bucks, and so I bought the case and the dial came with it, and these god awful hands. Put everything together, put it in a watch case, wound it up. It works just fine. So that's my tourbillon that I add to the collection. Dr. Bob's, the new Zelos Thrusher GMT looks nice. Okay. Will Rogers, thanks, David. That's who I was thinking of. It's really funny. He and Wiley Post died in the same accident. Wiley Post was a flyer from the 30s. A lot of the airplanes they had back then were just really cool planes. There was one, I think it was called the Bianca or something like that had the twin tails on it, like a Constellation. God, I love those planes. They're probably death traps. The instrumentation they had was probably iffy, but man, those planes were cool looking planes. Well, listen, guys, we have gone on and on for over an hour now, and so I better cash it in before I forget anything else. Thank you guys all for coming. I really love what you had to say today. This was great. Take care. Have the rest of your day. Have it fantastic. We'll see you.